Oops, falling behind on reviews again. Let's fix that. Lightning round. Go. The cart before the ponies. This one could have been a lot more fun. That's not to say there weren't any fun elements present, but let's count them out. First off is some nice diversity for the Cutie Mark Crusaders. One might expect them to mirror their respective sisters and go for the fastest, the most stylized, and the most traditional. Yet instead they show some nice individuality by going against those expectations and seeking diversity. By seeking the most stylized, the most traditional, and the fastest. It's also fun to see Rarity's flashback. I shouldn't laugh at her misfortune, but I did, endlessly. Cheerleader Cheerilee. Cheerleader. Wonder if fans will enjoy this outfit. Plus, I've always enjoyed Cheerilee's slightly sarcastic attitude. It's got just enough wit to have an edge, but not so mean-spirited to appear snide. And of course, there is the Applewood Derby and all the various designs for the carts. Heck, we got to see what I assume is Snips' father, and Diamond Tiara shows some nice change, as she worried about Randolph post-crash. Sadly, this episode's weakness lies in the older sisters, all of whom behave exactly as one would expect and take their obsession with the past to unreasonable levels. More than that, there's really not much driving the conflict, pun intended. With Diamond Tiara's reformation, there is no win-at-all-costs character for the protagonist to work against. There are multiple awards which, while true to real-life Pinewood derbies, means that neither the Crusaders nor their sisters are in competition with one another. Not only does this go against the fun of most wacky racer-style episodes, it lowers the tension. Some of my favorite moments with the CMC arose from them competing in an event and often losing. It makes me wonder if MLP is afraid to show the difference between healthy and aggressive competition. I wonder if we've seen that recently.
We bucked the hooves right off of you!
Yeah, more on that in a minute. So many of the positive traits in this episode get swallowed up by the weaknesses. It's unfortunate because I think with a little shift in focus, this could have been a lot more fun. 28 pranks later. Could have sworn we just saw the sextet. Probably just my imagination. I don't agree with folks who say that Rainbow was behaving out of character. She's never learned the value of pranking. Instead, she sees it as a challenge to make the pranks bigger, especially after being challenged by Applejack and Rarity. What we witness is what Griffin the Brush-Off could have been had Pinkie Pie not been around to moderate Dash's drive. And I do love the homage to classic horror movies like Night of the Living Dead. They found the second most G-rated way to show off a classic horror trope. The most G-rated way being Attack of the Killer Tomatoes' take on vampires.
No biting and no blood. Kissing is nice.
I want to kiss your neck.
Two things that bug me with this, however. First off, for all her talk about breaking a promise, Pinkie did betray Rainbow's confidence. This is kind of weird for me because I'm glad Pinkie isn't following such a rigid view anymore, but it's never directly addressed. Second is the idea that you resort to the behavior you denounce. There's a double standard with that. One can argue it's the best way to make Rainbow realize the harm she's causing, but there were other ways to do that. I will praise that this episode did something the mysterious Mayor Duell did not. The main six sat Rainbow down and tried to talk to her. Applejack unfortunately said the wrong thing to mess it all up, but at least they tried to reason with Rainbow first. Between this and Newbie Dash, I can't say that Season 6 has been very kind to Rainbow. Let's take a look at a character who's done much better. The times they are a changeling. Written by staff who were apparently paid by the word. But oh, Spike, you are on a roll. He does so much better when he is helping another in an episode rather than creating the problem himself. He starts off by trying to be considerate of Twilight and Starlight, who have caught a rare disease known as exposition overload. We get to see a little more of the Crystal Empire being functional. Not successful, mind you, but at least the Crystal Ponies are reacting to a situation, not being distracted by the newest event. Even their guards are at least proactive. I did enjoy Thorax, though I find him less compelling a character than Gilda or Ember. Because I don't agree when people say that this episode tackled the idea of prejudice. I don't think MLP has tackled that since Season 1 and Zakura's introduction. Here's the uncomfortable thing. In MLP, the generalizations are 99% accurate. Griffins are
Rude, insensitive bullies.
Dragons are aggressive, greedy hoarders. Gilda and Ember both embraced their respective cultures until they were shown an alternative by someone representing the pony culture. Which is disappointing in and of itself, as I feel the rest of the world has nothing to offer the ponies, so the idea of cultural exchanges goes out the window. When Shining Armor asserts that there are no good changelings, Thorax's flashback only supports his idea. They're hostile, predatory beings that can't control themselves when surrounded by strong emotions. That's not unfair prejudice, that's confirmed as fact. The only reason Thorax is different is because he's apparently an aberration. He was born good. The real growth is for Spike, who fails at first but then rises to stand up to everyone else. Sadly, this means convincing everyone with a single song. Days of fear and resentment, especially for Shining Armor, and it's all undone with one song.
Your song has deeply moved me, especially that smash to bits part.
Which leads to a whiplash-level turn in attitudes. Heck, the royal couple shoves their newborn at the changeling, even though they saw that trigger a reaction. It's too clean a wrap-up. It's okay for Thorax to gain a few new friends while he works to sway the hearts and minds of others, but I'm not confident we'll see that again. Dungeons and Discord. Calling it now, this is the season of Spike. Back-to-back episodes where the little guy shows his best or is just fun, thanks in no small part to him playing off Discord, who shines alongside Big Macintosh. I, like many, would have enjoyed seeing more of the Oubliettes and Ogres adventure unfold. Yet there was plenty of humor and visuals to go along the way, so I can't say the time was wasted. In fact, everyone has at least a moment of humor, from Applejack's practical unfashionableness to Fluttershy's attempts at manipulation and negativity, from Pinkie Pie's harkening back to Yak Yakistan peril to Twilight's desire to flee. I don't think any character failed to draw a smile. And what makes Discord funny? Everything. He's back in form by having mastery over the landscape, his surroundings, and forcing characters into uncomfortable or even dangerous situations. The Lord of Chaos is a lot more entertaining when he's making a mess of his surroundings rather than feeling confined to just himself, and he looks darn fine in a zoot suit. Spike could have become a straw man of D&D players, with his insistence or his schmerity fantasies. Yet instead he acts like a group leader, with his enjoyment of the game and his playfulness. Not to mention his insistence on imagination! Plus, I'm always interested when the ponies indulge in fantasy within fantasy. Yes, this is a world populated by griffins, hydras, minotaurs, and whatever this is.
The pony-eating Yeti on Frostfield Glacier?
Right. But it's fun to see what Spike and Big Mac concoct with just some drawings. I'd be stunned if there was actually a Squizzard out there in the world. Oh, wait, I just jinxed it. Watch Squirk be a villain in Season 7. Yet the most fascinating character is Big Macintosh. The older boys had more than a few moments in the spotlight in these later seasons, but they've often followed a pattern. Big Mac is a large, strong-looking stallion, so most of the humor involving him relies on surprising audiences' expectations. Snatching up a doll, cross-dressing, dreaming of princesshood. I do think these are pranks on the audience. Did you expect him to behave all super macho? Why? Surprise! In this episode, Big Mac is envisioning himself on a total power fantasy. A sword-wielding champion who won't be cowed by authority and forges his own path. Until things get real and he and Spike head for the hills. And I don't see this as cowardice. There's no reason at all to stand and fight while running is the better solution. And it's true that many of the adventures we romanticize would really be terrifying, brutal events from which most people would run. That's why heroes become ideals. Not for facing danger without reason, that's stupid. Ideal heroes face those dangers for the sake of others. It was fun to see Discord's resistance increasing to the point of his old, tormenting ways. Then we see him deflate as he realizes how alone he's been without the main six. And the final shot is too classic. This was one of the funniest episodes of the series, though if there's a lesson in here about being open to new experiences or giving people a chance to become a friend, it gets swallowed up by the comical aspects. Though perhaps the greatest joke was the timing. Same day this episode aired, JonTron posted a review of Dark Dungeon.
RPG! RPG!
Well, if you say so.
Life does follow some odd themes. Buckball season, or as I like to call it, Ashley Ball picks on Andrea Liebman. I'm afraid the fun from Dungeons Discord set the bar way too high for this episode. After the giggle fest from the previous week, this one couldn't hold up. That's not to say there isn't some fun stuff here. Case in point.
There's no way that we can get in the zone because the zone sounds like a horrible place since we are terrible at buckball and we are going to lose and let everybody down and we don't want to play anymore!
The animation as they board the train has a nice shifting perspective which creates a 3D feel without breaking the visuals. Kind of a step up from the Timberwolves and Spike at your service. We get treated to a lot of awesome visuals including new unicorn characters, returning Appaloosa residents, Bulk Biceps' cousin here, and spinning. So much spinning. Every pony's just going around and flipping hither and thither and around again, and spinny spin spin and all this stuff. Oh, I'm gonna be sick. But this episode is a lot like a donut, plenty of enjoyable stuff ringing a hollow core. The conflict engineered by Applejack and Rainbow Dash's intensity feels empty. There's not a lot of new insight into characters because we already know from Fall Weather Friends and Castlemania that these two are competitive ponies. We know from every single episode ever that neither Fluttershy nor Pinkie enjoys competition. So I get the sense we're just going through motions as we watch the conflicting mindsets take their toll. To this episode's credit, I do enjoy that Rainbow and Applejack realized their mistake without being explicitly told. And I realize Fluttershy's gotten to use her angry voice several times this half season. Yet the funnest aspect of this episode is Snails. 5.5 seasons and he finally gets a positive showing. Oh, sure, he's as dumb as a lobotomized post. Don't ask how you do that, you're far too innocent to know. Yet this episode uses that vacancy between his ears to his benefit.
Your mind is already so prodigiously empty that there is nothing in it to clear away in the first place.
He has some of the funniest lines and moments in the episode. In fact, he comes out looking better than Rainbow Dash, who had my least favorite moment.
We bucked the hubs right off of you!
Yes, you did so much work, getting your own tail handed to you by less athletic ponies. Now, fair is fair, just like in 28 Pranks Later, this is Rainbow being in character. She is hyper-competitive and very insensitive. Yet this is an element that turns me off to many groups, and sports is a prominent example. No one likes to lose. I can't fault Brayburn and team for looking sour, though they own their loss and swear to improve. Rainbow and company had a chance to shake hooves and show a level of sportsmanship we require from junior league teams. They failed. Yeah, that last little bit really soured what was an underwhelming story. And I find it strange how between this episode and 28 Pranks Later, Applejack's social skills seem to have deteriorated. This isn't a question of being honest, it's more about keeping on track and being aware of the individual's personality. You need to step up your game, AJ. Still, more episodes to come, we'll see how they go. I'm Silver Quilted. Thanks for watching.